Hi, I'm Scott Dick. Welcome to YourTown TV, and today I'm here with Mark Bruno, President of the Monterey County Association of Realtors. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Scott. Glad to be here.
Tell me a little bit first about what the difference between a realtor and a real estate agent, and then we're going to get into some of the bigger issues.
Well, the main difference between a realtor and a real estate agent is a realtor has just another level of education that they have to go through. There's ethics requirements to become a realtor. And generally that's kind of it. We've got a board that, takes care of polices our own people and make sure that, we're following those ethics, making sure that everybody is trained and up to speed and staying up to speed. And then we're also advocates for homeowners across the state of California. So there's a huge political arm to the Realtor Association, not only locally in Monterey County, but across California and across the nation. We're one of the largest trade organizations out there.
Yeah, that's true. And as part of that, I just have to ask you, there's a lot of challenges out there in the industry, and so to make it easier, how about the top three?
So you're right, there are tons of challenges, and obviously it depends on the individual agent as to which is most important to them. I would say the biggest challenge facing us currently, especially in the Monterey Peninsula and Monterey County, would be just a lack of inventory. There's not enough housing on the market to meet demand of the buyers that are out there, and that's causing some issues. Prices are kind of going up because of that. And some people might think we're kind of at the end of a 7 or 8 year run and the market should be flattening out or shifting, and it almost looks like this lack of inventory is propping that market up still, so we're still seeing price increases and things like that. So in other words, if you're looking or thinking about selling your house, it's the old adage that realtors would say, hey, it's a great time to sell your house, but the reality is right now it is a really good time to sell your house. I think Pacific Grove had 25 active homes available a couple days ago. So that's almost no inventory compared to the amount of buyers that are out there looking to get into the housing market in Pacific Grove.
Sure, I understand that. So that's lack of inventory, that's one.
Yep. I would say kind of the image, and this is kind of a tough one because it depends on who you talk to, but I think that real estate agents and realtors kind of get a bad rap. And if you've ever worked with a really good realtor, they make it look really easy. I was fortunate enough to come into this industry about 11 years ago. My mom was in the business for 40 plus years, and she was kind of my mentor. And for the first year, I pretty much just shadowed her and did what she did, learned from her, and she has a great reputation here in town. Her name's Linda Nichols, and has been a realtor in Pacific Grove for forever. So I was fortunate enough to have that kind of mentor-mentee relationship with her. But unfortunately, you get newer agents that come into the business. Those agents make it look so easy. The television shows make it sound like it's super easy to become a realtor and get super rich. If you watch some of these shows that are on there, and the way some of these guys portray themselves, I think is not doing us any favors as an industry. But I think a lot of people look at that and go, wow, the real estate market's good right now. People are making money, housing prices are going up, I'm going to get my real estate license and jump in the business. They don't realize that the agents that do the majority of the business work 60, 70, 80-hour weeks. We're on call all the time. So there's this perception that it's an easy business to get into and make a lot of money. The reality is it's a very serious business that we're in. We're protecting people with probably the biggest asset that they have, their home, and making sure that they can sell it or buy one and not get into legal problems. Hopefully, if everything goes well, and we're in the most litigious state there is, so you never know how that's going to work.
Well,
knock on wood there.
Of course, but you didn't start out. You didn't stay at home and just evolve into real estate.
No, I actually. It's kind of a funny story. I told my mom that I probably never would get into real estate because of the hours that she worked. So I went and, after being in retail for quite a while, took a corporate job down in Southern California with a company called Fujitsu 10, and went from a sales trainer to basically a national sales manager and the product development manager of that company for mobile electronics. And from there, bounced into another company in Arizona where I was a managing director of a public company and had my own brand that I ran there. And what I found out quickly, especially in that environment, is I was working the same hours, just doing it for somebody else,
Sure.
and not making nearly the kind of money that I could be if I was putting those hours into real estate. So long story short, my mom was at a point where she was thinking about slowing down, and my stepsister was working with her and decided she wanted to be a nurse, and the hours were killing her for real estate. So I decided to come back and join my mom's team. That was 11 years ago now.
Well, nursing is also one of those jobs where
and I think she's learning that now. That's a whole nother, we could do a whole nother segment on that, I'm guessing.
Well, I'm thinking, the point is, you brought those hours and that work ethic to organized real estate.
Yep.
And so I think there is a misconception out there that if you're not making it at what you're doing, you can always get your real estate license and sell real estate.
There's that, or there's this perception that, well, gosh, a couple of my family members are going to sell a house in the next couple of years. Maybe I'll just get my license, I'll tend bar or be a waitress, and then every once in a while I'll do a real estate transaction and hang my license with somebody, or even get my broker's license and do one transaction every couple of years. And the reality is, if you're not doing this day in and day out, the market changes quickly, the forms change quickly, the laws change quickly. Right. You're not doing your family any favors, and you're certainly not living up to your fiduciary responsibilities to your clients if you're only doing this once in a while. So I am lucky enough as the president of the Monterey County Association of Realtors to have the ability to speak to new agents as they come in. I get, I think, 20 or 30 minutes to kind of tell them what I think they should look out for. And one of the things I tell them is, if you're not going to be full-time at this job, A, you're not going to make a lot of money at it. Right. And B, you're not doing your client a service by, just helping them buy one house or something like that. Because the reality is, somebody who's doing it all the time is going to have an advantage. They're going to know more inventory that's available, possibly, especially in the market that we're in right now. They're going to be way better equipped to handle the legal issues. Not that we can handle the legal issues, but we know where those speed bumps are, and we know when to tell them they should be talking to an attorney or not talking to an attorney. Same thing with the accounting side of things. We're not accountants, but we certainly know enough to kind of guide them and let them know to get all the information from their accountant. Where I run into agents all the time who are giving legal advice or giving accounting kind of advice, and they're just setting themselves up for a potential problem.
Well, you mentioned something, the forms, and you would think that would be a simple matter, but the forms change all the time, and if you're inadequate, if you're not versed on those forms, then you set yourself up personally to be sued.
Yep.
It's not the buyer or seller often that gets sued, it's the agent, the one in the middle that gets sued.
That's right. Well, if you're not using the forms, you can go to the forms classes you want, and they're really good. They kind of teach you, hey, this is why this form changed in this particular paragraph or whatever. But if you're not using it regularly, it's really easy to forget, 12 pages worth of contract. There's so many different things in there. And depending on the situation with that particular buyer or seller, you kind of have to know how to guide them through it. And then what I like to do with my clients, I actually like to sit down with them before we sign the offer and go over the entire offer and also set up expectations. Here's what you can expect to happen. Here's why we're signing liquidated damages. But maybe we're not signing arbitration right now. And you go through all of those different things with your client and educate them on the process. And you're also setting it up so that down the road, they kind of know what to expect if the deal does go together.
Right. Because I know that in a lot of people's mind, it's simple enough if you put an ad in the newspaper, take some nice pictures of a home and put it on the market, it will sell itself.
Yep.
And you know that that's just not true.
Yeah, I mean, you can, it's easy right now. With the lack of inventory, it is easier to sell a home right now. Mm-hmm. The problem isn't selling the home or not selling the home. Our job is to get that seller as much money as we can get them as their represented agent. So if we undervalue the home here in the Monterey Peninsula, it's not like what you read in Los Gatos or San Jose, where you've got millions of people right there that are looking for a house, mm-hmm. and there's only one coming on the market, and they're going to get 27 or 47 offers on that one property. If you undervalue that house, the market's going to make up for it up there. Down here, that's not the case. If you underprice a house here, you might get 3 offers or 4 offers, and they might be investors. And, somebody may be looking to flip a house. They're watching the market. They know the deal. They know if they pounce on it right away, they might get a chance to buy it below market value.
Because they know it's below market value.
That's right. So we get agents from out of the area who will come down here and list a house, and they will, tell their clients that they know this market, they work this market. The reality is they've never sold a home here, or maybe they sold one home in their life. And there's a deal in Pebble Beach right now where a house sold with a lot next to it, and the guy that bought that house has now put it right back on the market with the lot separate for more money than what he just bought it for. And we're not talking about a year later. We're talking about purchase the house when it first hit the market, recognize it as a deal, and then went ahead and put it right back on the market, creating an opportunity for himself to make money. And there's nothing wrong with the agent that represented him as the buyer's agent,
right.
But that seller's agent was not from our market here, and she probably could have priced the house a little bit higher. I don't know the situation behind the seller. The seller maybe needed to sell it right away, right, and wanted to price that way, in which case they did a fantastic job. But looking at it from the surface, you're going, man, that's a mistake, right, that somebody made because they weren't in our market down here.
Well, when we talk about the market up in the Bay Area, I saw a statistic last year that said that on properties in San Francisco, once they were listed, they were getting $300,000 and $400,000 offers over listing price.
That's right.
And that's what they're $300,000-$400,000.
Yep.
That's what they're selling for.
But the reason that happens up there, and the reason you can get away with it, is because they didn't get 2 offers. If right. 2 people are writing an offer on that, they're not going to write it asking. If 25 people are making an offer, they know they're not going to get it at the asking price. They're going to have to go way over to get it. So then it becomes who's willing to bet on the come that, hey, even $400,000 over asking is still going to be a great deal a year from now, or 2 years from now, or 3 years from now, or I'm going to keep this forever. It doesn't matter.
Right, exactly. So we talked about the first 2 challenges. Is there a third one in there, or did I miss it?
Well, I think that out-of-area agents is something I wanted to talk about in general. They keep talking about a statewide MLS. And so if you have a statewide MLS, that means there's a reciprocal agreement between the selling agent and whoever brings the buyer in. Well, if you've got agents now from Southern California coming into, let's say, Carmel, which is a very specific, eclectic kind of an area, or Absolutely. Pebble Beach, or Pacific Grove for that matter, Monterey, you're going to have agents coming in here that don't know anything about the market. They don't know about the sewer lateral policy in Pacific Grove. There's all these little things that we know because we work it on a regular basis. Sure. It's the same thing. Like, I won't even go to Santa Cruz and sell a house because I don't know the local customs in Santa Cruz. And that's 45 minutes or an hour away. So if I have a client who wants me to represent them and sell their house in Santa Cruz, I find an agent in Santa Cruz that's highly qualified, and I have them talk to that agent. I refer it to them. Because I don't want to make that mistake. My job is to do the best thing I can for my client as a realtor. And it certainly wouldn't be the best in my client's best interest if I went up there and tried to sell their house in a market that I don't know anything about.
Yeah, that's perfect the local market.
So in general, the whole realtor thing is to have this fiduciary responsibility to your client. And the state of California, get a license, they talk about the fiduciary responsibility and how important that is. Yet if you're willing to go outside of your market to represent somebody, it kind of goes against that fiduciary part of it. Wouldn't you want to get an expert in that area at least to work with you to help buy that? Because I know, I'll give you a great example. I sold a house 3 years ago or something like that, where it was on the market. We knew it was priced too high. The seller just wanted to ask a certain price, wasn't super motivated to move. Put it on the market, and for the first 3 months, we get nothing. Crickets. Nobody's coming to the open houses. We're getting no activity at all, except I get one agent out of the Bay Area who keeps calling me and asking questions about water down here and what they can do. Mm-hmm. And they really don't know our market, it's obvious, but they have a buyer who's interested in moving down here and obviously picked that house as one they're interested in. So about 3 months into the deal, I get an offer from a local agent well under the asking price, which was actually exactly where we told our seller that house probably was going to sell. So this guy had done his homework, knew the comps, said, here's what this house is worth, and brought an offer in. So me representing my seller, doing a good job for him, I immediately called that agent from out of the area and said, hey, we got an offer on this. If your client wants to get in on this, they need to bring an offer down. They bring an offer down basically at full asking price. We do what's called a multiple counteroffer, which you ask both sellers, buyers to bring their highest and best offer. The agent from out of the area comes in well over the asking price, no contingencies. So no inspection contingency, no loan contingency, no nothing. They're buying the house as is, and their client hasn't even been in the house yet. So, and our local agent said, well, we're not going to raise our offer. We're staying right where we are because that's what the house is worth. So there's a great example of a client from out of the area being represented by somebody who's a friend or a family member that's also from out of the area, not doing the best job they can representing somebody here. So I'm just, so I look at that, and especially in my position now with Monterey County Association of Realtors and being involved more with the California Association of Realtors, I look at that going, man, we're kind of headed down this path where we're trying to make the MLS where everybody can see it. And I think the good agents know to get help, but back to these inexperienced agents, they're looking at it going, man, if I could sell $1 million house, that's $25,000 a commission or $30,000 a commission or whatever it is. Right. It's income for them. And I think the money's motivating them to do things that maybe they shouldn't be doing if they're taking their fiduciary responsibility more serious.
So the fiduciary duty, in a very brief explanation, can you explain that? Because a lot of people have heard that term, but they're not quite sure what that means.
Yeah, basically it's, and I believe it's a legal term that basically means our responsibility is to do the best that we can do for that particular buyer or seller. So we become an agent operating on their behalf, doing what we can do to help them get the best possible transaction that they can get. So whether it's sell the house at the highest price, protect them against maybe some of the pitfalls that could happen in the contract, our responsibility is to do all of that to the highest level that we know how.
And that's the importance of representation, isn't it? Versus just buying a house off the internet?
Exactly.
So that, okay. I think we've covered a lot in the last, in this segment. And I think maybe we should probably continue this because there's a lot more. You mentioned advocacy and outreach. That's something that we should probably talk about.
Sure.
Also, the real estate in the state of California is bigger than just one area or one location. That's something maybe we should talk about. Also, the relationship maybe between housing affordability and inventory. I think there's another. That's a place that we could go. To wrap up this segment, is there anything else that you'd like to mention? It's on your list.
Well, no, nothing really. It's on my list. I would say in general, becoming a realtor is a great business to get into, but don't believe the stuff that you see on television. I had a kid come to me, he wanted to be an intern, great kid, and first question I asked him, I said, well, why real estate? He said, well, I've watched $1 Million Agent, and these guys are making all this money selling these multi-million-dollar houses. I want to make that kind of money. Wrong motivation to get into real estate. For me, the best part of the business that I have found, and pretty much everybody that I work with, they always look at getting your buyer into their first house is such a great feeling, or being able to sell a house for enough money for one of your sellers where they can go on and retire the way they want to retire or do what they want to do. That's the reward. If you take care, this old cliche I always use, if you take care of your people, if you take care of your clients, the money takes care of itself.
Sure.
And you look at all the top agents that are out there, I think that's what they do. They focus on taking care of people. And it's amazing how, the good fortune kind of comes behind that, and you can build a great business and have a great future in the business.
Well, Mark, I really appreciate you coming on YourTown TV, and I'll have you again.
All right. See you. Thanks, Scott. I appreciate it.